Hi, Nikki here. Welcome to this video as part of the Ladies Golf Lounge Winter Golf Series. One of the questions Yvonne was asked was, how can I stop thinking so much about my golf swing? So I think there's sort of two key elements to this. And the first one being there's lots of information out there in the golfing world, lots of fantastic information that's readily available and accessible, which is great. The only flip side to that is that it can sometimes feel a little bit of a minefield, and we can be out on the golf course and potentially every sort of 2 or 3 holes we can be thinking about trying something different within our golf swing and trying to change things technically, which can feel a little bit of a frustrating process and not bring us the rewards that we're after. So I think the first key thing is to gain some professional guidance through a golf coach, and there's some great coaches out there and lots of great golf coaches here on the Ladies Golf Lounge platform. So to gain some professional guidance that will help provide a simplified understanding that makes sense to you and that is specific to you and your golf swing and your pattern of movement, that will help make some positive changes for you. And it's that simplified understanding that's specific to you that will help to make the key difference. So all of the information out there, and it's, lots of great information, but in isolation, they may not be applicable to you and your golf swing. And that's where it's important to help get some guidance and advice from a golf coach that can help set you on that clear path. And it helps to prevent that sort of overload of swing thoughts and that sort of element of continual trial and experimentation, which can feel quite frustrating. So that sort of clear understanding as to the simple elements that are going to be specific to you. Now, the great thing is that sometimes we worry that when we work on one element of our golf swing, we've then got to try and fix several other components. So if once we work on the takeaway, we've got to fix the backswing, then downswing, then the follow through, and so on. The great thing is that very often the golf swing can work as a cause and effect, on a cause and effect basis. So generally, if we can find that sort of little golden nugget that's specific to you, that's going to have then a positive impact on the sequence or sequences that follow, that helps as peace of mind for you to prevent that worry that you've then got to be thinking about lots of different things throughout the different parts of the golf swing. So it's that simplified understanding and that golden nugget or two that's specific to you that will then have a positive impact thereafter, that will help prevent that kind of excessive swing thought process and that continual trial and experimentation. So once you have that, to add into that, it is then the environment in which you work on those changes. So ideally, the practice ground or the driving range provides an ideal environment to give you an opportunity to trust a new feeling. When we're on the driving range or the practice ground and we've got a basket of balls there, we don't perceive there to be a consequence to the outcome of the shot because we've got another go. And under those circumstances, we're much more likely to trust a new feeling and make a new change. That combined with an element of repetition enables a new movement or a change to take place a little bit more successfully. When we're out on the golf course, as much as the brain knows what it needs to do, when we've only got one go, it wants to hang on to what it knows and what it trusts, and that's generally a little bit of the old pattern of movement. So if things aren't quite going so well, then we kind of get caught between the two, and then we're more likely to revert back to the old tried and tested, which is the old pattern of movement generally. So the environment in which we work on any changes is also key to the process. So I would say that's sort of one piece of the puzzle. So gaining some clarity through professional guidance as to the specifics around the key areas to you and your golf swing and your pattern of movement, and it's a simplified understanding and it makes sense to you, combined with the environment in which you work on those changes. That coupled with the second piece of the puzzle, which is ideally when you're out on the golf course, There wants to be much more of a course management focus. So what club do I need here? What elements am I sort of are surrounding me? What, do I need to be aware of the ground conditions, the elements, the weather conditions? So that's one part of the focus that ideally wants to sort of be in place when you're out in the course. And that combined with being much more of a target orientated focus as opposed to the mechanics and the technical elements of the golf swing. So I often liken it to the analogy of throwing a ball into a basket. So in throwing a ball into a basket, potentially underarm, we're much more likely to focus on the basket. If we focus purely on the mechanics of how the arm is trying to get the ball into the basket, there's a higher chance of missing the basket. But when we focus more so on the basket, the movement will respond to that visual. And that's ideally the focus that we want to have much more out onto the golf course. So if you have a pre-shot routine, this is an ideal sort of time to start to create that visual of the shot that you're looking to play. So the visual of, how we see the ball traveling to the hole. We may even bring in an element of, okay, how do we feel the contact? How do we feel impact and the strike? So it becomes much more of an immersive process. One thing I would add is that we want to make sure that it is a focus of the shot that we're looking to create and not any sort of disaster movies of the shot we're trying to avoid. So that's key. It's very much focused on what we're sort of the shot we're trying to create. And it's that focus that can help to bring in much more of a flow and bring in the fluidity to your golf swing. If we're out on the golf course and we're focusing on the mechanics and the technical elements of how we're trying to make that shot happen, that's where it can start to feel a little bit more tricky and we can start to lose the flow of the golf swing. So it's not to say that if you are working on something, for example, within your alignment, and it's completely fine to have an awareness of your alignment out in the golf course. If there is a tweak within your posture that you're sort of focusing on, it's fine to have an awareness of that on the golf course. But we don't want to get bogged down with the positions of the actual movement of the golf swing. That's where we want to have much more of that target orientated focus instead of that. So it's all of those elements that combined that can hopefully sort of create a clearer pathway for you, and also make it much more of an enjoyable process on the golf course. Because sometimes it can feel, if we get bogged down in a quagmire of swing thoughts out on the golf course, A, it doesn't really bring you the results that you're after generally, and B, it feels a bit of a frustrating process as well. So hopefully this can help you create some clarity, bring you a little bit closer to the results that you're after, and most importantly, make it more of an enjoyable process for you. And the winter time is a great time to sort of work on your game as well. So hopefully this can bring you closer to the results you're after, more enjoyment, and get you ready for the season and the spring ahead.